Hello, this is Nazneen with a whole new topic today. But which topic? That I'll tell you later. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you something. Tell me, what comes to your mind when you hear the word counseling? Yes, we visualize an anxious person going to the counselor, and the counselor is listening, advising, guiding something to the counselee or the client, right? This type of counseling is known as directive counseling. But actually, it is not only limited to that. Counseling is done in different ways, different approaches we have, different kinds of counseling are there. There are two more types of counseling that we will take up later. Let's discuss about directive counseling. First of all, let us have a look who is the leading exponent of directive counseling. E.g. Williamson's is the leading exponent or promoter of directive counseling. This type of counseling is also known as counselor-centered counseling, as it relies on the counselor or the therapist as the major player. The counselor directs the thought process of the client by informing, explaining, interpreting, and advising. Therefore, it is a counselor-oriented method. Emphasis on the problem and not the person. Hence, it is also called problem-centered counseling. Now, I'll not go to the detail, but I think you have understood the basic characteristics of directive counseling. Let's have a look. The characteristics of directive counseling. The counselor is very active and counselee is passive. Counselor assumes major responsibility of solving problems. The counselor leads the interview, stresses more on the person's intellectual aspect than the emotional aspect. Client is subordinate to the counselor, not equal in terms of power play. Focal point is the problem, not the person. Now let's look into the procedure or the steps of directive counseling. There are basically 6 steps, and they are analysis, synthesis, diagnosis, prognosis, treatment or counseling, and follow-up. In analysis, the data is collected by using different tools, techniques, and sources needed for an adequate understanding of the client. Synthesis, the counselor summarizes and organizes the data logically in order to reveal the client's personality, background, qualification, weak and strong points, etc. Diagnosis, it consists of interpretation of data to find the root cause of problem or the distress. Prognosis, at this step, prediction about future development of problems and progress of client is made. Now come to treatment or the counseling part. The counseling here is to bring about adaptation of the individual in relation to his problem. Attitudes and interests of the individual are considered during the counseling. The client is encouraged to develop a life cycle where an effort in the positive direction could lead to success, and success in turn could lead to future effort or motivation. Then comes follow-up, the last step. Evaluation of the effectiveness of counseling is conducted. Obviously, the client may be able to solve immediate problems through counseling, but new problems may occur or the original problem may reoccur. Follow-up with the clients extremely necessary. So here is the procedure once again. Analysis, synthesis, diagnosis, prognosis, treatment or counseling, and follow-up. Everything comes with pros and cons. So let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of directive counseling. What are the advantages? It is economical in time and saves time. Emphasis on the problem and not on the individual. The counselor can see the client more objectively than the client himself. It puts more emphasis on the intellectual aspect rather the emotional aspects of the personality of the individual. Methods used here, it's very simple. It's to direct, it's explanatory, it's convincing. Now let us go into the disadvantages. Here I have a list of it. Client is dependent. Counselee does not learn to self-analysis or solve new problems of adjustments. It fails in saving the client from committing similar mistakes in future. Lack of information regarding the client can create the possibility of wrong counseling. Emotional problems may not get solved. It kills the initiative. It makes the counselor dependent on the counselor. At times, it makes them feel helpless. It does not guide counselor to be self-sufficient and confident. Well, that is all for today. We have discussed the meaning and concept, characteristics, procedure, advantages, and disadvantages of directive counseling. Let me conclude the lesson. This technique is considered as the most economical approach and important for student counseling because it is less time consuming and students who lack experience are easily influenced by the counselor's experience and specialized knowledge. The client feels that the counselor has superior knowledge and therefore a professional relationship takes place. This relationship is the base of the directive approach. The relationship is based on dignity to help the student to reach their goal. Thank you so much for being patient and watching the video. Stay tuned for the next lesson, that is non-directive approach of counseling, unit 4, guidance and counseling. Till then, bye-bye. Keep smiling, spread happiness.